It is my high honor and distinct privilege to introduce to you the President-elect of the United States of America, Donald Trump.
To many of us living outside the US, Trump represents just another example in a worrying trend of radicals gaining power or affecting results. From Brexit in my home country to the almost rise of the far right in Austria, France, and many other European countries, we're seeing something terrible happening. We now favour the outsider politician, the non-politician politician. Is this really the best criterion on which to choose our leaders? And if not, how do we stop this Trump phenomenon from happening again? At the trial that would ultimately condemn Socrates to death, the famous philosopher launched an attack on democracy itself. Facing the jury of 500 Athenian men who were allowed to vote on all issues of state, he told them that they weren't fit to do so. Suppose I have a horse to train, says Socrates. Do I trust the training to an expert or to everybody passing in the street? Clearly the expert, for if we left it to the masses, the horse would end up a cripple. If we then won't trust the training of a horse to the citizenry, why do we trust the governing of the state to them? Of course, now we have representative democracy, where the masses choose the experts rather than the laws. But it seems that this system is breaking down and we're choosing people who are avowedly not experts. One of the reasons that Trump's popularity has been sustained is that he has frequently reminded us that he is popular.
Some of the polls are great. I only really acknowledge them if I'm winning, so don't worry. And by the way, we're winning in a lot of polls.
The herd instinct is a powerful one, and when we see people around us behaving in an idiotic or dangerous way, surprisingly, we're going to want to do so as well. In what has become known as the 1968 smoke-filled room study, conducted by Lantane and Darley, people were asked to fill in a questionnaire. Halfway through the questionnaire, the room began to fill with smoke. When there were only the members of the public in the room, 3/4 alerted someone about the danger. Only 25% did nothing about the smoke. This was the control sample. In the other sample, some of the participants were actors working with the psychologists, who had been told to remain seated. In this case, the members of the public did likewise 90% of the time, sometimes even lifting the questionnaire to their faces to complete it through the thickening smoke. We conform, we behave as others behave, even if we think it's a bad course of action. Why did Trump keep referring to the polls when he was winning in the primaries? Why did he stop referring to them when he was losing halfway through the nationals? Maybe partly because he's a narcissist, but also because he's using herd mentality to his advantage. The question of Socrates is still relevant today. Why let the masses choose the experts? Together we act with stupidity. But unless you fancy living in a dictatorship, we must find a way of correcting our ailing democracy. So perhaps there's a solution to our herd instinct. Here's a beginning at least. Remove the polls. The polls, whilst also increasingly inaccurate, behave like the actors in the smoke-filled room experiment. They allow us to see how everyone else is acting, and we may well decide to act in the same way. The only way that democracy can flourish is if the citizenry themselves become experts in the art of choosing the leader. An informed debate, policy discussion, and examination of the candidates' characters are all essential to this, but polls undermine our rationality and force us to see in which way the herd is moving. If we remove the polls, if we are ignorant of the herd, then we cannot act on herd instinct. Essential to the proper functioning of a representative democracy is a well-informed electorate, making their decisions based upon the policies, personality, and professionalism of their political candidates. Remove the polls and let us become experts in democracy, partaking in the only poll that actually matters.